impact on surgery.
Today on Ignite News, Mohawk students are fundraising for Movember.
The rules for Movember is you got to be perfectly clean shaven on November 1st, so what better way to do it than a clean shave?
Mohawk's aviation program gets a hefty donation.
But having a big airplane on board, having something that the students can actually get their hands on to work on, is going to give them that little bit of an advantage over someone who maybe only ever gets to work on the lighter aircraft.
And old school libraries are working their way into the 21st century.
Think about a library that maybe isn't focused on books or journals or any of that stuff that we have, but is focused on creativity and imagination.
I'm Bryan Naylor. I'll tell you why to keep your hand in your puppet in your entertainment update.
For sports, I'm Greg Rosser. Coming up, the Hockey Hall of Fame class of 2012 has been inducted this weekend in Toronto.
I'm Dimitri, Perdicaris. Plenty of sunshine to come your way, so be sure to stick around for your weather update.
All this and more coming up on Ignite News.
Good morning and welcome to your Ignite News for Tuesday, November 13th. I'm Diego Flammini.
And I'm Glen Cuthbert. Here's what's making news. A man's body was recovered from Lake Ontario last night. Toronto police say the deceased was discovered near the Port Credit Harbor in Mississauga. At this time, no details have been released.
A 28-year-old man was killed in a hunting accident Sunday morning. Peter Kosed was shot in the back by a deer hunter while he was bow hunting on a farm property. Six Nations police said Hunter fired a bullet more than 375 meters from the road into a line of trees. Unspecified charges are pending against the hunter as Six Nations police are still investigating the circumstances of the shooting.
The classroom was donated to Mohawk College, but here's the catch. The classroom is so big that it has to be stored at the Hamilton International Airport. Ignite News reporter Diego Flammini has more.
It might look like any other airplane, but take a walk inside and it's anything but. The Boeing 727 jet was donated by Kelowna Flightcraft and will serve as the newest classroom and lab for Mohawk's aviation program located at the Hamilton International Airport. The luxury interior and gadgets that once lined the aircraft have been ripped away, leaving exposed wiring and oxygen hoses for the students to work on. Instructor Blaine Stafford says the life-sized lab could help students find a job after graduation.
Well, we kind of like to think that we offer a little bit of everything, but having a big airplane on board, having something that the students can actually get their hands on to work on, is going to give them that little bit of an advantage over someone who maybe only ever gets to work on the lighter aircraft.
First-year student Jeffrey De Silva says the plane offers a learning dynamic that a textbook simply can't.
You only can learn so much off the books, and a lot of the kids in the aviation program are more hands-on kind of learners. So the fact that we actually get to hold the bolts in our hand, hold the tools, actually get to use them before we actually go out into the field is actually a huge experience for us.
The plane used to belong to Hotel Magnate Leona Helmsley. It was donated to Mohawk last fall, but had to be stripped of its luxury interior, everything down to its solid gold faucet. For Ignite News, I'm Diego Flammini. Over and out.
Research in Motion is set to showcase the new Blackberry 10 in January. The new design will see changes such as an enhanced operating system and a keyboard that will adjust to each individual. RIM hopes the improvements will boost its reputation as the iPhone and Android have been dominating the smartphone market.
Halton's high school teachers are partially withdrawing their services to protest Ontario's controversial wage freeze legislation. But the union says students may not notice the strike at all because classes and extracurriculars will run if the teachers choose to run them. Talks with the provincial government broke down on Monday, triggering thousands of teachers across 20 boards to scale back in their usual services. The province says it's unfortunate teachers are putting students in the middle of the dispute.
McMaster University owns the original manuscript of Anthony Burgess's A Clockwork Orange. 50 years after the publication of Clockwork Orange, attention is being focused on the original manuscript that has quietly been kept at MAC since 1967. A friend of Burgess who worked at the university paid only $250 for the manuscript 45 years ago. McMaster says whatever the value, there are no plans to put it on the auction block anytime soon.
Speaking of books, when was the last time you went to the library and actually read one? Mohawk opened its doors to academics who discussed the problem and the solution. Ignite News reporter Taylor Ablett has that story.
Mohawk welcomed community partners, academics, and librarians from across Ontario into our library to discuss the crisis in academic libraries and how post-secondary schools can use that to their advantage. Keynote speaker of the Library of the Future event, Michael Ridley, gives a definition of what the crisis really is.
I talk about the crisis because I think I have a concern that libraries will choose the past, not the future. That they'll say, you know what, we were comfortable when we had all these other things, when we had lots of material and books. We were comfortable when people came to us and we were the sources of expertise. I think the crisis is we will not choose the future, we will choose the past.
Because of this crisis, Mohawk hosted the event to discuss the future with Hamilton's community partners. Anna Johnston, the Director of Libraries and Learning, tells us why we hosted the event.
It's because we're actually developing a new library service model for Mohawk College libraries.
Ridley says the future of libraries may not put as much of an emphasis on actual books.
I think the library is going to be this kind of creative zone where people can come together in very effective ways, not just about information, but about tools and services and resources. So think about a library that maybe isn't focused on books or journals or any of that stuff that we have, but is focused on creativity and imagination.
Anna Johnston leaves us with her words of advice, not only for libraries, but for students everywhere.
You shouldn't be afraid to take some risks. You know, try new things, be innovative.
For Ignite News, I'm Taylor Ablett.
The sex scandal that claimed the career of CIA Director David Petraeus is widening. There is news this morning that the FBI is investigating General John Allen, a top commander in Afghanistan, for sending inappropriate emails to Jill Kelly, a friend of the Petraeus family. Petraeus resigned on Sunday after admitting to having an affair with his biographer, Paula Broadwell. The FBI discovered the affair after investigating threatening emails Broadwell sent to Kelly. She was apparently jealous of Kelly's relationship with Petraeus.
The Mohawk Students Association is doing their part this month for some mustache growing fun. Ignite News reporter Bryan Naylor has more.
Be a champion, not a quitter, and keep growing your mustache to help beat prostate cancer and depression.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's Christmas time for people who love mustaches. Movember is back again this year, and Mohawk College staff and students on campus are banding together to grow mustaches to help change the face of men's health. Movember is an annual month-long event that involves the growing of mustaches during the month of November, where men and women around the world raise money towards the fight against prostate cancer. This year, the Mohawk Students Association are hosting a number of Movember-related events throughout the month, including offering students a fresh shave to start off the month in preparation to grow their mo. MSA President Andy Hall expressed how good it felt to be clean-shaven, especially for a great cause.
Well, for one thing, it feels fantastic. They get a nice clean shave. These guys definitely know what they're doing. It feels fantastic, and the rules for Movember is you got to be perfectly clean shaven on November 1st. So what better way to do it than a clean shave?
The MSA has a lot of things in store for students taking part in Movember, but MSA Vice President of Marketing and Communications, Ashley Coles, is keeping a tight seal on what's really being planned.
So the biggest one we have is the Stash Bash, which is at the end of the month. It's the pub night that'll happen on the Wednesday. We're going to have a bunch of stuff happening at that pub that we're not releasing yet. Probably have some ceremonial mustache shaves and stuff like that.
The MSA has provided the college with a Movending machine where students can donate to the cause and receive some Movember memorabilia. There is no set goal for what the entire school wants to raise, but to keep students motivated, there are a number of prizes for top contributors.
The guy who raises the most amount of money for the MSA team will win a 40-inch TV and a PS3. And the gal who raises the most amount of money for the MSA team will win a $750 shopping spree for Maple View Mall.
One of the main focuses for the month of events was getting girls involved this time around for Movember.
I mean, I can't grow a mustache, but that's one of the things that we're focusing on. Any guys even who can't grow one, we're basically trying to tell people that it doesn't matter if you can't grow a mustache, we still want to come together and raise a bunch of money for Movember.
Reporting for Ignite News, I'm Bryan Naylor.
Here's a look back at today's top stories. A man's body was recovered from Lake Ontario shortly after 10 last night. Research in Motion is set to showcase their new Blackberry 10 at the end of January, and McMaster University owns the original manuscript of Anthony Burgess's A Clockwork Orange.
Looks like some sun is in our forecast, but is that snow on the way? Let's check in with Dimitri for your weather update.
Thanks, guys. Lots of sun to go around the region today. Starting things off in Windsor, we see a mix of sun and cloud and a temperature of 2 degrees. Over in London, they're experiencing sun and variable cloudiness. They're sitting at 1 degree. And over here in the Golden Horseshoe, Niagara Falls is at 3 degrees with sun and cloudy skies. More of the same in Toronto, sun and cloudy periods with a temperature of 4 degrees. And here in the Hammer, we see more mixtures of sun and cloudy parts and a temperature of 4 degrees. Taking a look at the next 24 hours here in Hamilton, variable cloudiness heading into the evening with the temperatures going down to 1 degree. It's going to feel like -2, and then overnight it gets a little cooler as we drop down to -1 while it feels like -5. And then tomorrow morning that sunshine comes back with some more clouds and a temperature of 0 degrees. Looking at the next 5-day forecast, tomorrow, sun and clouds with a high of 4 and a low of -1. 6 degrees on Thursday with a mix of sun and cloud and a low of 1 degrees. More sun and cloud on Friday with a high of 7 and a low of 1. And heading into the weekend, the sunshine sticks around with a high of 7 and a low of 1 degree. Then Sunday, clear, sunny skies all day with a high of 6 and a low of 2 degrees. That's all for your weather. Let's take it to Bryan to see what's going on in entertainment.
Thanks, Dimitri. Everyone's favorite surreal comedian is coming back to HBO for a new special. Louis C.K. says HBO has gladly welcomed him back to their network for a stand-up special that will air sometime in 2013. The special will be taped at one of the 16 city tour stops in the United States, and he will be directing it as well. Much like his last special, Live at the Beacon Theater, it will be available on his website for $5. Break out your building blocks because the Lego Movie is coming to the big screen. The 3D movie titled Lego, The Piece of Resistance, was announced over the weekend by directors Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who both teamed up for 21 Jump Street. The film is about a goody two-shoes Lego figure named Emmett, voice acted by Chris Pratt from Parks and Recreation, who's mistaken as a savior and is dragged on a quest to stop an evil dictator, played by Will Ferrell, from controlling the universe. The star-studded cast includes the likes of the great Morgan Freeman, Will Arnett, Elizabeth Banks, Nick Offerman, and Alison Brie from Community. Don't forget to piece together some change for tickets when it's officially released. Now let's see what's happening around Mohawk College. Toronto's own Dango Jones brings their hard and heavy rock and roll style to the Casbah on Wednesday, November 14th. The Juno-nominated trio bring the sounds of their new album, Rock and Roll is Black and Blue, to downtown Hamilton to entertain fans for the Canadian leg of their tour. The band is heading down under to the Soundwave Festival in Australia in January, so be sure to catch the heat before it leaves. Tickets are on sale now at Dr. Disc for $20 and is sure to sell out. The show starts at 8 p.m., so don't be late. Forget Twilight and bring your wooden stakes and silver bullets to the Vampires vs. Werewolves pub on November 14th. Join your fellow Mohawk students in the Ernie for some post-Halloween celebrations and come dressed up for a night of spooky, blood-sucking fun, so don't miss out. Doors open at 9 p.m. and cover is free for Mohawk students who show their ID, so be sure to check it out. Dropkick Murphys will be taken to the studio at Hamilton Place on Saturday, November 17th. The Celtic punk rockers make a stop in the Hammer on their fall tour and plan to ship it off to Boston for fans in a night of headbanging and fist-pumping good time. Tickets start at $43 and the show starts at 8 p.m., so don't miss out. And that's it for this week's community calendar. Let's send it back to the studio. The puppeteer behind the Sesame Street character Elmo has been accused of having sexual relations with an underage boy. Kevin Clash, who has been the voice of Elmo for nearly 3 decades, is accused of having a relationship with a 16-year-old boy and breaking his work's internet usage policy to contact the boy. Clash is taking a leave of absence from the show to dispute the allegations and a chance to protect his reputation in regards to the accusations. Producers of the show say Elmo will remain on the show despite the absence of Clash and that he is bigger than any one person and will continue to be an integral part of the show. And that's all for entertainment. Let's throw it over to Greg for your sports update.
The
The Hockey Hall of Fame's class of 2012 was inducted on Saturday. This year's inductees included former Maple Leaf captain Matt Sundin, two-time Stanley Cup champion Joe Sakic, the Russian rocket Pavel Bure, and the ever-humble Adam Oates. With the NHL lockout on day 58, it was a chance for fans to remember when hockey was actually being played at the highest level. Monday Night Football featured the 6-3 Steelers against the struggling Chiefs in probably not the most exciting primetime game ever. With Pittsburgh quarterback Ben Roethlisberger suffering an injury in the second half, the Steelers pulled together to edge Kansas City in overtime 16-13. Next Monday's game will feature the San Francisco 49ers and the Chicago Bears. In a surprise move, the Los Angeles Lakers have hired Mike D'Antoni as their new head coach. The Lakers signed superstars Dwight Howard and Steve Nash in the offseason. However, the new tandem had failed to produce results with a dismal 1-4 start to the season. After firing Mike Brown, the franchise had been in talks with legendary coach Phil Jackson. The team was unable to come to a deal with the former Lakers coach and quickly signed D'Antoni, who is familiar with both Steve Nash and Kobe Bryant. That's all for me with your sports. Let's pass it back to Diego and Glen.
We took to the halls and asked Mohawk if the private lives of politicians should be made public.
Yes, I do. I feel like if they're running our country or, running our cities and whatnot, we should know what's going on in their lives. If they're doing some bad things, we should know that. And so in the future, if we have to vote them back in or whatnot, we would not vote them back in if they're doing bad things.
I don't really think so, because private lives, whatever it may be for like the politicians or us, it's always private, so not really.
Not at all. I find that it is private lives and business and professional lives should be kept separate, because that is his own personal affairs. But as long as it's not impacting his performance on the job, he shouldn't be looked down upon professionally for what he did.
No, I do not.
And why is that?
How would you like your life made public?
The city of Suwon, South Korea is flushing away old ideas about parks. The city recently opened a restroom cultural park in honor of the commode. The park features a toilet-shaped exhibition hall and numerous bronze statues. The park was created in honor of Sim Jae-duck, former mayor of Suwon. Jae-duck was born in a bathroom, and his fascination with the loo earned him the nickname Mr. Toilet.
And that's all your Ignite News for Tuesday, November 13th. I'm Diego Flammini.
And I'm Glen Cuthbert. For more news, check out our website, ignitenews.ca. Thanks for watching, Mohawk.